What to look for in a paddleboard for paddleboard yoga. So first we want to talk about size, how big your paddleboard is, length and width. So with length, you want at least 10 feet and somewhere between 10 and 12 feet is good. So this Glide Lotus is a 10 foot by 35 inch wide. And this one is 10 foot 8 by 34 inch wide. So with that length, they're both in the 10 foot range, but anything up to 12 foot is good. As far as width goes, anything between 32 and 35 is gonna work, but your sweet spot is 34 or 35. So aiming for that wider board, so you have more room to practice and you have that added stability for the board. Now, the next thing you want to think about is the deck pad. I love a full length deck pad. So when the deck pad goes from the front all the way to the back, it just allows for more movement with your poses. And some boards under the storage at the front, there's no deck pad and it's maybe a little bit slippery when it's wet. So I like when the deck pad goes all the way from the front to the back. Now, the deck pad material is also important. You want to make sure it's not a slippery when wet material, which seems silly that even exists for a paddleboard, but it does, let me tell you. So if it has a little grippy to it or some sort of texture, it's going to be more helpful through yoga so that you are not slipping when the board becomes wet. Now, the next thing we'll talk about is the handles, where the handles are at. Most of the time, the handle is in the middle, and I actually teach my classes to this, always stating to stay over the center, which is where the handle is at. However, not all boards have handles in the middle. This Red Paddle Activ, the handles are actually on the side, which is really nice during practice because they're completely out of your way and you don't have to worry about them. And actually in some poses, you can even use them as a prop and grab onto them. So I love that for this one. But if you do have a paddleboard with a strap in the middle, just make sure that it's flat and it's not full of memory foam or some other material that's going to affect when you're laying down on your belly or on your back. Now for hardboards, normally it's just a hole, so you shouldn't have to worry about it too much, but definitely still pay attention and make sure the handle is not going to interfere. Now, as far as inflatables versus hardboards, it doesn't really matter. These are my two favorite, and one's inflatable and one's a hardboard. So it doesn't really matter in that sense. Inflatables are a little easier on our joints, and if you biff it and eat shit, it's gonna be a lot easier on your body on the inflatable to fall versus the hardboard. However, some people find the hardboard just gives that little extra stability or solid feeling under the body. So preference, but I think that they're both great. Storage is another thing to think about, whether or not your board has storage and whether that's a necessity for you. So if you're a minimalist paddleboarder and you're not going out with a bunch of stuff, then maybe you don't need the storage option. Like the Red Paddle Co Activ does not have any storage. You can always add it though if you really need it and you still want this board. But it is something to think about when you're first buying the board, whether or not it has bungee cords or somewhere to store some extra stuff. Now, last, I would say weight is a huge factor. Always pay attention to how heavy the board is itself and if you're going to be able to carry it around. When you're looking for a yoga board, because you're looking for a board that's a little bigger, a little bit wider, they tend to be a little heavier. So just make sure that you're paying attention to that overall weight of the board and make sure it's doable for you.